hidden somewhere.
Yes, or they could stop sleeping, or at least going into that third realm and or the third stage, and just go to the first and second stage, and they don't go into the third stage, well, it won't burn the calories.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just an idea guy.
Really,
that's what I do. I'm the idea guy.
You are.
I'm doing this. I'm here to help.
Okay, well, I'm sure all the anorexic and bulimic people out there are listening, and
yes,
some are going to try.
It's a small...
And if there's a spike in deaths of anorexic people tonight, we're going to know why.
It's a small thing, but it adds up.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, well, REM sleep starts about 90 minutes after you fall asleep, and the first stage lasts about 10 minutes. But after that...
I found it to be closer to 12, but...
You wouldn't know, because you're in that stage.
It.
You time it. How do you time it?
With a timer.
And how do you know if you're
Stopwatch.
sleeping? How do you know, though?
Because when I press the button, I'll know.
So you press the button when you're sleeping?
Yeah.
Really? So you sleepwalk and all that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make sure I watch that tonight.
Okay.
So with the REM stage, after that first one that lasts 10 minutes, every depth after that gets a little bit longer, and it can go up to an hour. So
second stage can do an hour of second stage? So first stage is like 10 minutes. Second stage is like an hour. We're talking about an hour and 10 before I get into third stage.
Sure.
Whoa.
I know. It's all different. Everybody's different. Every time's different.
And there's probably a certain amount of third stage you need.
It's way too confusing for me. Too many rules to sleep. I just want to close my eyes, and that's, Yeah. But I do want to say, what's interesting is since I've been doing these, the research on sleeping and dreams and stuff, this whole week I've had dreams every night that where I wake up, they are so real and so vivid, and I have the emotion from my dream. But it's only happened this week. It's really, really weird. So I don't know what that's all about, but it's interesting. So Edgar Allan Poe, the famous poet and author, said that...
I call him EAP, man.
Okay. He said, all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. It's a very famous quote. I love it. Now, in my book, I say sleeping. You're making all those faces that I'm
not making any faces at all. Do you people out there see any faces? See, there you go.
God. Listen, in my book, I say that sleeping is where you have the highest chance to experience the supernatural because dreams are more real than reality itself.
Real.
Because they're closer to the self.
Very close.
They're coming from within.
Why?
Because our bodies are shut down. Less to see, hear, less distractions. Now, the brain can function without physical restraints. You got the eyes, the ears, the arms, the legs, the heart, the lungs. All that's resting when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And the fact is that our brains are most active when we sleep. A lot of people don't know that. So if our brains are active, but we're sleeping, what is it doing? I mean, we're still doing the same thing we do in the day. We're still breathing.
We're these physical beings in a spiritual world, and we just sometimes need to reverse that, and so we shut down the physical and open up the spiritual, and we go to sleep, and that's when God deals with us. You know what I'm saying, babes?
Awesome, podcast done. You just summed it all up.
That's all you got to do, because you know what? Sometimes God has to put you to sleep. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Has to put you to sleep to be able to even talk to you because your mind is racing. You're going so quick. You got so many thoughts on you, and God's just like, oh my goodness, I can't wait till this kid goes to bed. I got to shut him down so I can speak to him. We may not remember those things, but remember what's been put in the mind stays there. They say you never forget anything, ever. You just don't know how to recall it.
Oh.
I know it's a common problem for you.
Yes, I have short-term memory loss.
That's not even ripping on her. She doesn't remember
I have the worst
anything.
memory ever.
Yeah. But so they say you never forget anything. If you find a way to recall anything you've ever learned, you could do it. And that's why they do like hypnosis and stuff like that. I'm not saying that's a good idea, but it allows them to tap into that memory of something that happened or an instance or something that the memory has. But part of the brain is shutting it down and collapsing it, if it's something serious or ugly. But even the simplest or most complicated math equation or whatever that you learned how to do and knew the problem, and that was 20, 30 years ago, it's in your brain. You just may not remember how to recall
Maybe that's why I forget everything, because I'm so spiritually in tune.
Could be.
My mind's
Seriously.
so full of spiritual stuff.
It could be.
Oh, God, I have an excuse.
I mean, it's an excuse. We better just take what we can get out of it.
That's right. Now, I used to wake up with marks on me. Remember that? There's been times that you've seen it, but all through my childhood and everything.
Well, that's because I always tie some meat around your neck so the dog will play with you.
Oh, and I wake up with scratches, and I'm like, oh. Yeah, right. Nice.
Keeps the dog busy. Gives him something to do.
And people, like I said, will even carry over their emotions from a dream, like I was saying it happened. But it's important to know that there's actually no biblical stories of demonic forces communicating with people or messing with them during their dreams or their nightmares. So, people instantly say it's the demons.
And I know we didn't talk about this, but I can remember a dream just a couple years back. I was in the dream. Of course I was there. Who else would be there? But in the dream, it was something scary was going on. Something that was like bad. And I know that I heard God's voice. And God speaks to us all a little different. In this dream, it was, wake up. It screamed it at me, yelled at me, wake up. And I woke up, literally woke up.
Like zing.
Bam, and jumped up, eyes wide open, like I had just been commanded from the king to wake up now. Because whatever was going on in that dream, or whatever I was going to do, or whatever's... Because God is in charge of the dreams. Now, I have to disagree with you that the adversary can enter the dream realm only through God's permission.
Well, I didn't say he couldn't.
We can have, okay.
I said there's no stories in the Bible that talk about it.
And so, but God has to allow it. And God will allow these things to happen to steer us, to direct us, hey, sometimes people have to be scared into things. This is reality. And so, whatever was going on in this dream, God was like, no, we're shutting this one down. And it was weird because, like, none of us usually just wake up instantly, especially me. You've seen how I wake up. It's horrible.
Right.
I mean, it takes me like a week to wake up. But this was really strange. Just
because if anybody
zing,
knew you like I know you, they would understand that you're always, no matter what, groggy when you wake up for a while. So for that to happen, that's something major.
All that paint chips.
That's what it is.
The Bible does... this is important, and I teach this all the time. And people always have questions about the Bible and God. I want you to know that the Bible does not teach you everything there is to know. It only teaches you the things you need to know. There's going to be plenty out there that you don't know.
Right.
And God's like, and you don't need to know that either. That's not going to get you saved. It's not going to get anybody else helped. There's information like, you don't need to know that. You ever have that? If you have a need to know, I'll tell you. If you were in the military and I was, if you have a need to know, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
And God's the same way. It's like you don't need to know everything. Right now, the world's having a hard enough time grasping the simple things.
Okay.
And let alone, let's make it more complicated. It's like, you couldn't handle it.
Yeah. So when the Bible doesn't mention anything about demons coming in our dreams, that doesn't mean they don't. I was just stating.
We just have to remember that God says He's in control of all things. Nothing crosses anywhere without going across His plate first.
Well, because I believe that many dreams are a connection to the spirit realm, and there's always going to be demonic as well as good in the spirit realm. So when we're dreaming and we're connecting to that, and if there's demons around, maybe that's what we're having these nightmares and night terrors and stuff.
I can remember as a kid, I'm one of those people that can be a little anal when it comes to finishing something or figuring something out.
Ugh,
and even in school, I was that way. And I always had a thing for math. And there were sometimes I just didn't know the answer. And my mom was okay at math, but you get upper grades, not quite good enough to help me anymore, Mm-hmm. And so it was all on me. I didn't really have nobody to call. We didn't have internet back then. So I'd go to bed, and I'd be every problem's got to be done. It would just drive me nuts. And I'd go to bed with this on my mind. And there was several times I woke up with the answer of how to figure out the problem. I remember getting up, I'd get out of bed, I'd go back in the kitchen, I'd write it all out, and there it was.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
That is really neat.
Yeah. So how is that happening? I mean,
that's
God's
true.
like, is that really? Because, what's important to you sometimes is very important to God, too.
Right.
You say a math problem, really that's important to God?
Like God
it's important to Him. He's like, that's important to you. There's nothing wrong.
And also God's trying to show you that He's there.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't know that as
He's
a
like,
kid.
we can work together with the simplest things. It doesn't always have to be this catastrophic, life-saving thing. God's like, I'm happy to help you with the smallest of tasks.
Yeah. And we see that throughout the Bible anyways. So, and I believe that God protects us by not telling us everything anyways.
Well, if he didn't, we'd probably do some pretty stupid things sometimes.
Yeah, and people do. We just tend to do that. So
yeah. We don't. I don't, but
No.
you might. They might.
Everybody
Those, not
does.
everybody but me.
We experience different levels of consciousness, like meditation, but there's no,
What?
people don't do that in meditation.
I do.
You do like a Catholic rite? 'Cause
It's
it
kind
sounds
of
like
like
you sound like you're singing.
no, I was doing.
I feel like I just entered a Catholic church
my
and
Buddhism stuff.
Buddhism.
Yeah.
What?
It's different.
Sounds more like the Muppets, but okay. But there is something called lucid dreaming that there's this whole subculture of people who practice it. It's conscious dreaming, or some people say that they can astral project too. And it's sort of weird what they do, but they use various techniques to learn to control their dreams. Like they try to do flying, passing through walls, traveling to different dimensions, or even go back in time. But it is a dangerous practice because we don't have proof that what you're experiencing is real. It could be a vision or deceit from the devil or and
I've talked to people who practice with the the white magic or whatever, but they're pretty convinced it's real.
Yeah,
and that they can
Oh, I believe that we're capable of doing stuff like that. But like we know somebody who goes to our church, and it's interesting because now she was really she was a hippie, so this is way back in the 70s or late 60s, and she was like part of this little, I don't know, I guess like a cult or something. And they did a lot of meditation and they did a lot of these techniques and they astral projected all the time, she said. And she has crazy stories. She doesn't like to talk about them too much, but she has some interesting stories. And one of them is that her parents were Catholic and they were trying to get her to stop doing that. They said it's dangerous. You're
dangerous.
The Bible says we should always be sober and of sound mind. So when
Right.
when you're getting off doing that without God,
sober-minded.
yeah, then we're having a problem. So she's at one of their little things, and what the guy was trying to do, the head guy was trying to get everybody to go to this place and whatever spiritually, and all meet there, and so they're all doing whatever they're doing, and she couldn't get there. And she could not, there was this huge rock in the way. And no matter what she did, she couldn't get there. And I think they were trying to go to some kind of god or something, and she could not get there. And when they came out of this trance or meditation, he said, we were all there. Where were you? And she said, I couldn't get there. And he's like, why couldn't you get there? And she said, there was this big rock in the way. And he said the rock was Jesus, because in the Bible it talks that Jesus is the rock, is our rock. And her parents told her the same thing. And well, obviously, now it's how many years later and she's, a Christian, but she believes that if she would have went farther, she believes she would have died or maybe come back not the same. So she thinks she was being protected and shown that I'm standing in the way.
He was very clear. You told me the story about he was telling her that you need to get rid of that rock.
Yes.
And to get that rock out of the way.
Right, that guy was telling her, the head of the cult was like, oh yeah, you got, and he was telling her what to do and how to do it, and she was like, no, I think I'm going to learn a little more about this rock thing first. I don't know. And yeah, it was weird, So that's interesting. But when we think of the mind, we think of the brain. And we think physical because, obviously it's physical. We're physical beings. But consider how our brain is used like a transmitter for mental aspects. Maybe it's being a transmitter for the soul and the spiritual realm. Because I've talked to plenty of people who've had night terrors and sleep paralysis, and they will tell you it's something more than a physical event. They think it's so much more. Everybody who's had them has said that it's so physical that it's spiritual, and it's so spiritual that it's physical. So it's sort of like they intertwine. I talked to this one lady who she had sleep paralysis, and she said, I know that hell is real because it's called sleep paralysis. I mean, she hated it. And then someone else that I talked to once said that it's a nightmare that comes alive. Now, my son Jamie used to have sleep paralysis, and it got to the point where he didn't want to go to sleep at night because remember that? He'd wake up and he couldn't move, and he saw these lights and stuff, and he got really scared. So that's sort of, I don't know, it's creepy. But now when you have sleep paralysis, you wake up and you have like sense of a spiritual existence going on, but it feels 100% real, and you have an inability to move and a sense of extremely evil presences around you.